My name is Emily, and this story is not one I ever thought I would tell. But life has a funny way of surprising you, doesn't it? It all started on a calm Wednesday morning at the resort. The sun was just rising, painting the skies in soft gold and blues, and I was standing by the sport's main garden, sipping my ginger tea. Lucas walked in, tall and confident, with that signature smile he always had when greeting our clients. But this time, he wasn't looking at them, he was looking straight at me. I married Mr. A 6 years ago when life seemed to offer me a second chance. He was older, kind, and had built a kind of life I had only dreamed about, this beautiful spa resort tucked away in the hills, where people came to find peace. I managed it with all my heart. My work became my pride, my sanctuary. Lucas, his son, joined us 2 years ago after getting certified as a wellness coach. He had his father's charm but carried a youthful energy that made everyone gravitate toward him. The clients loved him, the staff respected him, and me? I respected him too at first. But respect is such a fragile thing, it changes when you're not paying attention. That Wednesday, something shifted. It wasn't his smile or the way he said my name. It was the way he stood too close as he handed me a file. "Emily, you've been working too hard. You need to let me take care of some things for you." His words were innocent, but the tone, it wasn't the kind of tone you use for your stepmother. Let me just tell you, I laughed it off. "Lucas, this is my work. Don't worry about me." But his eyes lingered, and I felt something I wasn't supposed to, the feeling. You see, in Nigeria, people don't really talk about things like this. The unspoken rules and the boundaries you just don't cross. 4 months, I didn't. But the problem with forbidden fruit is that it doesn't just sit there, it calls to you. Days turned into weeks, and somehow, Lucas and I kept finding reasons to work late together, revising schedules, reorganizing budgets, reviewing results. The result was striving, and people praised our teamwork. But if only they knew the storm brewing beneath the surface. One Friday evening, after the guests had settled into their yoga sessions and the staff had clocked out, I found myself alone in my office. Or so I thought. I had a knock, 3 soft taps. It was Lucas, holding 2 steaming cups of hibiscus tea. "Thought you might need this," he said, setting one on my desk before pulling up a chair. His presence filled the room like he owned it, like he belonged there. "Thank you," I said, avoiding his eyes. But he didn't leave. Instead, he leaned back, his gaze steady. "Emily," he began, his voice low and serious, "why do you always keep me at arm's length?" "I'm just trying to help you." I froze, my heart racing. "Lucas, we've talked about this. You're doing great work here, and I appreciate it, but there are lines we can't cross." His lips curved into a small, knowing smile. Lines are only there because people are afraid to cross them. Sometimes stepping over is the only way to see what's on the other side. I wanted to laugh it off, brush him aside, but the air between us was thick, almost suffocating. My chest tightened as I searched for the right words, but before I could speak, he stood up, took a step closer, and placed his hand on the desk. "Emily, I see you," he said, his voice softer now, not just as my father's wife, not as my boss. "I see you, and I don't think you've let anyone truly see you in a long time." His words hit hard. I didn't even know I was exposed. He was right, somewhere between managing the spa, keeping up appearances, and being the perfect wife to Mr. A, I had buried pieces of myself so deep that I'd forgotten they existed. But this wasn't right. It wasn't fair to Mr. A, to Lucas, or to myself. I stood up, forcing a smile. "Lucas, I appreciate your concern, but this conversation is over. I need to focus on the results, and so do you." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but if you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here." As he walked out, I sank back into my chair, my tea untouched, my mind a tangled mess. The days that followed were a blur. I threw myself into work, avoiding Lucas as much as possible. But avoidance only makes the silence louder, the tension sharper. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned crimson, I stood by the garden again, watching the guests stroll by. I felt a presence behind me, and before I could turn, I heard his voice. "Emily, we need to talk." I sighed. "Lucas, please, no." He interrupted, his tone firm. You can't keep running from us. I spun around to face him, my resolve crumbling under the weight of his gaze. Lucas, this isn't a Hollywood film. Real life has consequences. This, whatever you're feeling, it can't happen. It won't happen. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. What if it's already happening? Lucas's words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. I wanted to argue, to deny what was happening, but deep down, I couldn't. The truth was staring me in the face. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about me. For weeks, I had been lying to myself, pretending that the late nights, the lingering conversations, the stolen glances didn't mean anything. But they did. And now, standing here with him so close, I felt the weight of everything I stood to lose. Lucas, I began, my voice trembling, this isn't love. It's confusion, it's loneliness. You're looking for something, and so am I, but this isn't the answer. It can't be. His eyes searched mine, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in them. Emily, I'm not confused. I know how I feel. But do you know what this will cost us? I asked, my voice breaking. Your father has trusted me with everything, his business, his name, his heart. And you. You have a future here, a career you've worked so hard for. If we do this, we destroy it all for what? A feeling that might not even last. He looked down, silent, and I pressed on. I made a vow, Lucas, to your father, to myself. And no matter how I feel right now, I can't betray that. I won't. Tears welled in his eyes, and for a moment he looked like the young boy I'd first met, lost, vulnerable, searching for direction. He nodded slowly, stepping back. You're right, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't want to hurt anyone. I didn't know how to stop feeling this way. Neither did I. That night, I went home to Mr. A and found him sitting on the veranda, sipping his favorite boat. He smiled when he saw me, patting the seat beside him. How was your day? He asked. Busy, I replied, sitting down and forcing a smile. But inside, I felt a storm raging, a mix of guilt, relief, and a strange kind of gratitude. Gratitude that I had chosen to protect what truly mattered. Advice for women. As women, we often carry so many expectations, responsibilities, and unspoken desires that we sometimes lose ourselves in the process. But when life tempts you to cross boundaries, remember this: every choice has consequences. Protect what you've built, protect your peace. Love and loneliness can blur lines, but true strength comes from standing firm in your values, even when it's hard. Your happiness should never come at the cost of your integrity. Stay true to yourself, and you'll find a path that honors both your heart and your principles.